everyone. Welcome to our second episode of Random Respawn. I am Josh Chagani, the one half of Random Respawn, and that's Marshall Berenger, the other half.
Hooray.
Today on Random Respawn, we'll talk about saved game dilemmas and free-to-play games. As is tradition, with our second episode, we will continue this tradition. Marsh, what games have you been playing?
Oh, God, it's now a tradition. Okay. Well, right now, if we want to go into our first topic of free-to-play games, I've actually been playing a lot of what is called Warframe. Now, for those who do not know, Warframe is a pseudo third-person shooter with kind of like loot RPG elements, a la like Diablo. Now, the game itself, as it turns out, it's got a little bit of a history to it. What started as essentially Dark Sector, actually, Josh, do you remember Dark Sector, first off?
Was that the game with the throwing blades?
Yeah, that was wonderful, underrated game. I don't know why people don't really like it. I honestly think it's a fucking awesome game.
I remember I was with you and Kayla back in college, and you guys decided to play online, and in the entire world, there were only two other people and Kayla playing Dark Sector.
In the game's defense, the internet was absolute shit for that game. So, I mean, no one was playing it for obvious reasons. But Warframe essentially is kind of like how Dark Sector originally started out when that was announced when the new generation of consoles were announced for the PlayStation 3 and Xbox 360. That was essentially going to be one of the first of the new generation of consoles. But unfortunately, it went into development hell, and what turned into like a science fiction type of game set in space turned out to be Dark Sector. And some of the items barely made it in, like the suit that you end up getting in Dark Sector, that cool-looking suit. That was one of the very few things that transferred over from the original concept of Dark Sector. Warframe is actually a lot of the concept and art from the game is actually from the original Dark Sector. The character that you play as is what is called a Tenno, which is essentially the story is you wake up from cryosleep, and then the person that you get missions from literally says, "Hey, you forgot your memory, but that doesn't matter." So literally the objective is go and kill all these evil people and corporations and shit. And it's like, oh, okay, cool, awesome. But the name Tenno actually comes from the last name of the character that you would have played as in Dark Sector.
Oh, that's cool.
His name was Hayden Tenno. And the Space Marines that you essentially fight in Warframe were the exact same models used in the original Dark Sector concept. A lot of that stuff actually carries over. The names like Grineer, which is the name of like the faction that you're fighting against, all that stuff actually carries over into Warframe. Now, I'm not entirely sure if it's actually the same company that's running it, but there's a lot of nods and hints to that game originally. And so far from what I've been playing as a free-to-play game, it's actually a lot of fun. Josh, have you actually been playing it yet?
I have not. I have been away from my PC. I only have my Mac with me, and so I haven't been able to hop on and load up Steam and be able to download any of those games. But I look forward to it.
Yeah, I would definitely highly recommend it for anyone who is possibly listening, including our Jose, our not real viewer.
We can't forget about Jose. He's very important.
Yeah. Shout out to you, brah. You're our only non-viewer out there so far, hopefully. But what I think is a really great game, it's the basis of it is actually a lot of fun where you can be doing jumps and flips and you can like kick into dudes and then just slash the shit out of them with your blade. And a lot of it boils down to you're not necessarily leveling up yourself. You're leveling up your equipment, which is your suit, your main rifle or shotgun or sniper rifle, your pistol, and then your melee weapon. And that's essentially what you're getting. Each one of those things gets to a maximum of level 30, and then you can then try and find blueprints, or you can buy them off of the auction house or the marketplace that they have right now for the in-game money. You can buy it with real money, but essentially everything that you can buy with real money you can get in-game, except for like color palettes for your characters. But there are multiple different types of suits that you can get that have all different types of powers to them. Like for instance, one of which that you start off with that I'm using is the Excalibur. He's really good. He's kind of like an all-around type of character for like new players, but he's pretty damn powerful. One of my favorite moves that you essentially start off with is a dash move where you activate it and he'll go through like all sorts of enemies if they're in the way and essentially cut them in half. It's wonderful. The game looks fantastic too. I believe it's an Unreal game. It runs like absolute butter, and even with like all the bells and whistles on, including like NVIDIA physics, that game uses that a lot for like a lot of the abilities have like sparks and stuff to them, and with physics on, it looks gorgeous. But so far, I've just been having a lot of fun with it.
For some reason, it's kind of always been a pet peeve of mine how like in some games when you level up your character and then like he magically learns new skills or he magically becomes stronger. I've always kind of felt like the person who you start with is typically like, he's always the same strength. And so I like that it's the weapon and armors that you upgrade because like, he has upgraded armor. Clearly he has, it takes more damage to bring him down. Whereas like some other games where you level up and they're just like, you're magically stronger just because it's, we needed to do it. I mean, that's really a really small gripe just because there are so many games out there that do that.
Oh yeah.
But I kind of like when there's a purpose to you getting stronger, and that's because your weapon and armor have increased.
And I like to think they've almost kind of solved the free-to-play issue of where, like for instance, a game like Tribes, how you would normally just go through the grinding process of just getting enough experience points to unlock the new weapons and whatnot. But then once you unlock them, you already have them. But if you buy the weapon, you're almost kind of like circumventing that whole thing. But then you realize you kind of get bored after a while because that was one of the main reasons why you would play a game like that is to get to that like grinding to get that reward. But then once you circumvent that, it's like, okay, I have it now. What the fuck do I do? But this, however, it doesn't matter if you actually buy the items or the skins or whatever. You still actually have to level them up individually. So you can still buy it, but you're starting off with that item as a level 1.
That's really good. I agree. That's one thing that I think a lot of free-to-play games have. That's probably their biggest problem is that, they're free to play, but if you wanted a weapon or something special, you can either go through the long, arduous process of continuously playing and leveling yourself up, whereas someone who doesn't feel like playing as much, they just buy the weapon that you're going for. And so you've kind of have this parallel, do I just fork over $10 and not waste 30 hours of gameplay?
Yeah.
Or do I try and enjoy the game? And so I don't know, I've never been a big fan of it. It's basically like buying a cheat code. And that's kind of how I feel. Especially when there are a couple games where it's a ridiculously powerful weapon and they say, oh yeah, if you buy this weapon, it's really cool. And people who buy that weapon, especially in multiplayer games, they buy this weapon and they have a huge advantage over everyone else. And I don't.
Oh yeah, definitely.
I don't like it. I don't like it one bit.
Yeah, Tribes is terrible with that. Every time they had a new patch, they'd always introduce like new weapons that at that point were incredibly overpowered, and it was essentially to the point so that people would, invest actual money to get that instantly to have that advantage. But then right afterwards, they'd be nerfed to all hell, so that way they would be brought back to the playing field. But it was kind of like, shitty business practices to do that. I know right now, I'm also playing PlanetSide 2 a little bit, but they seem to be having that trouble too, where there is a lot wrong with that game right now. It's still technically in beta. It's not really like released, I would want to say. They keep updating it and they keep adding to it, but the one problem I feel like they're having right now is, really, you have to really invest money into this game if you're really going to be able to level up properly, because the amount that you get normally with experience, it's just not really that a lot to begin with. If you invest money, if you have a subscription to the game, not only will you get an extra 50% experience for all your kills and all your destruction of like tanks and stuff like that, but depending on your subscription plan, you will actually get the currency that you use to buy money with, actual money for the store. You'll get a recurring amount every month depending on like what your subscription is and stuff like that. And you'll also get passive certs, which certs, if in that game, for those who don't know, are used to, instead of using real money, to actually purchase your weapons, your vehicles, your abilities, and all that. But without that, it's an incredibly slow grind. But at the same time, if you buy real money with it, it becomes okay, I have this now. What's the fucking point? And I mean, with PlanetSide 2, there's the whole metagame of you your empire is capturing different bases and whatnot. But right now, it's incredibly plain. It's very bare bones, and that's one of the major issues with that game right now.
I think I did play PlanetSide 2 as per your request, and I played about 40 minutes of it, and I was just kind of done. Because I don't remember any tutorial level or anything like that. And granted, most games are fairly similar in terms of controls, but I was just like, I'm tired of dying, and so I played something else.
Oh yeah, especially for games that aren't really done. I know that PlanetSide 2 just recently introduced the virtual reality area, so that way you can actually try out the new weapons and stuff like that instead of gambling on whether or not it's actually going to be a decent weapon if you're going to spend actual money on it, or your hard-earned cert points, which take forever to get to begin with. But I know, even Warframe right now, as much as I've been enjoying it, there's almost no tutorial to it. It's a bare bones. This is how you move. This is how you shoot. These are your abilities, and that's about it. I just found out the other day that there's a block button that you can actually deflect bullets and shit, which completely changes the game for me now. So,
how big are the bullets that you're deflecting?
Standard issue assault rifle stuff,
bunny sized. Do you have to keep mashing block, or does it automatically reflect like it did in Star Wars Episode 1: The Phantom Menace for the PS?
Wow. I would definitely say I'm pretty sure you can just hold it down and you'll deflect stuff. I'm pretty sure, kind of like Ninja Run in Metal Gear Rising, where if you hold that down, you'll deflect all your bullets and stuff like that coming at you.
Oh, okay. Because in Star Wars Jedi Power Battles, you would have to time it, and then you would reflect it. But in the Phantom Menace game, you start off as Obi-Wan, and then you could just hold it, and it would just deflect. But the second you started playing as Qui-Gon, the game got impossible. So I never beat the game. It's just once. Oh, and also back in that time, I didn't own a PlayStation memory card.
Oh,
so
no. So you mean you literally had to try and beat it in one sitting or you were screwed?
Right, but we always lost with Qui-Gon. So we got really good at Obi-Wan's part.
Oh, of course.
Like really good. A game that I've been playing is I have still been playing Ni no Kuni, and it is progressing quite well.
Is it getting harder?
It is. It is getting harder.
Good.
I was furious last time I was playing. I believe it was the day after we did our last podcast, but I was playing and I beat this boss. I leave and I have to trek through the desert. So I'm going through the desert, fighting a bunch of guys, and I die. And being the very frugal gamer that I am, in this game, if you die, you have to pay 10% back.
Ooh.
That's the price, to pay 10% of the amount of money that you've made.
That's what you get for sucking at the game, yes.
Yeah, and, I appreciate that. I like that there's a penalty for dying. And I was like, forget that. I'm going to save my $100, completely forgetting that I never saved after I beat the boss.
Oops.
So I quit, and then as I hit quit, I was like, no. And then I checked. I reloaded the game when I saw it was before the boss, and I was like, I'm done for the day. I am done. I turned off the game.
We're done.
I'm like, forget it.
This game sucks. I can't do this anymore. Yep. We've all been there.
Yeah, so that happened. But another game that I played for the first time ever was this past Saturday was International Tabletop Game. And I played for the first time Dungeons and Dragons.
Oh, wow.
With people. Yeah. I don't want to say that I played on purpose because I didn't. I went to the comic book shop that was hosting this, and I was looking around for a table to sit next to and play, but a lot of times it's very hard to just jump in the middle of a game. So I'm standing there looking around, and this guy was like, "Hey, do you want to come play with us?" And I was like, "Yeah, totally." So I sit down, and he's like, "Hey, we're playing Dungeons and Dragons," and I was like, great. I couldn't have been like, forget it, I'm out of here, and got up and left that table. So I was like, yeah.
You didn't want to be that guy.
Right, no, you can't be that guy. So
No, never.
I decided to play, and, the Dungeon Master's name was Shane. He ended up being a really cool guy, and it was actually pretty fun, but he's reading off the people to play as. I chose Big Boris, who was like this Russian guy. And I was trying to get into it. I was like, Big Boris. And I was like, it got into the dungeon, and I was like, sorry for the tardy, my friends. And the other guys that were playing looked at me. They're like, "What'd you say?" And I was like, "Sorry, I'm late." So,
man,
I would try and talk in a Russian accent for a little bit of it, but no one understood what I was saying, and no one else was like really part of their character. So finally, I was just like,
"Oh, that's
yeah, hit him with your axe."
If you're really gonna go all out Dungeons and Dragons, you have to go completely into it.
That's what I was thinking. But no, the Shane was like, "Hey, we'd love to have you come back and play again," and so I said, yeah, sure. So I will be going back. He's actually making me a character, and I told him I wanted to be a stealth character, so that's kind of neat.
Ooh, interesting. You're going to be like a thief or an assassin type of character?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I'm very sneaky in real life, and I feel like it would be, especially if it really got into, like, I kind of like being like a semi-evil person, so maybe not tell the group what I'm doing and do something that everyone's like, oh my god, I can't believe you did that, but it ends up being for the good of everyone. But I don't say anything about it. That's the kind of character I like.
A slightly roguish character, kind of like Han Solo coming back in Star Wars to help out Luke destroy the Death Star.
Yeah, it's exactly it. That is exactly what I'm going for.
I'm glad I'm on the same wavelength as you. That's good.
No, that's silly. So that was that. Those were the games I've been playing this week.
Before we move on, one more game that I've actually been playing recently. My roommate actually brought back her PlayStation 2, and I've actually been playing Kingdom Hearts for the first time. I've never played that game before, and let me tell you, I suck at it. I don't know if it's like the one major problem that I've been having right now is everything is mapped to the X button. So your attacks, your normal basic attacks are the X button. But if you want to switch to like using like a special ability or
like magic
item, you have to hit use the
down
D-pad
and then X
or the right analog stick, which I've been trying to use a lot more. Because if you use the D-pad, you're literally taking your movement off of the thumb of the left thumbstick, and you're literally setting yourself wide open to get your ass kicked. So it's like I have to force myself to now use the right analog stick while moving around, while trying to maintain everyone's health because Donald sucks. He keeps getting his ass kicked.
Donald's the person you always switch out. The second you go to a new world, you're like,
piece of shit. No, I want to keep the party. I want to keep the band together, man. I can't help it. It's weird. Like I want to keep everyone on the same level.
You got to switch out Donald
because no, I can't do that. You don't understand.
Every time they're like, so who do you want to switch? Donald.
No. As much as I hate him, he's a bro, and he's my mage. So I have to have a mage in the party. It's just my thing.
I mean, it was that game was a lot of fun, but it's kind of weird. Like I played it not too long ago, and the controls almost feel a little loose because you'd kind of jump and you'd soar a little bit down, and it wasn't like.
I think that might have something to do with the camera as well.
Yeah, the camera's a little.
Another thing I'm having trouble with is the camera can be really finicky. I think I blame that not on the camera itself. The camera's okay if you can do the lock on and all that, but I feel like every area that you're in is too small. Like there's not enough room for the camera to be behind you, so it's got to be kind of close up on you. But even then, it still is a little bit like too tight.
That was about a 40-hour. That was a good game. It really was.
Oh yeah, I'm still enjoying it. I'm enjoying the story and all that, and all the crazy shenanigans that's going on right now. But it's just it can be a little bit troublesome.
The more you pay attention to the story, the weirder it gets.
Oh, I know. I already know that apparently the second game, they add a third group that is essentially copies of you and just...
Yeah, the second game was actually a better game, but at the same time, it's like I still really liked aspects of the first one, so I'm really not sure which one was better.
And then they've got the handheld games, which are like in between...
Like 36 and a half quarter days, or like they have some crazy names.
I want to say that Kingdom Hearts 1, story-wise, is better because that was Squaresoft before they merged to become Square Enix.
Yes. Well, I mean, I wouldn't say that's the reason it's better, but I feel like since they didn't have...
I feel like that's one of the major reasons.
Yeah, since they didn't have so many crazy storylines to try and tie in with all of the handheld games and things like that, it was a story, it was confusing, but you understood it. And we can't forget that song at the intro.
Oh, God. And I've seen that damn video on YouTube a billion times, but like actually watching it like in my living room on my TV for the first time, I'm like, and I've seen it so many times, but I was like, oh, I feel fucking embarrassed watching this. It's just, it doesn't make sense. Damn it, J-pop, why?
Yeah, no, that is a game.
That is, oh God, that is a game.
Oh, another topic that we should probably hit upon is saved game dilemmas.
Oh, yes. Like your little trouble, what was that? Nino Cooning in the desert?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that was exactly. That was definitely one aggravating moment was forgetting to save after the boss, and now I
will beat you right now. Dead Space 2 when that came out, I loved the game. I enjoyed it, even though it was not really being much of a horror game anymore. But I got that opening night with my friends, and we were playing it, and I got to the part where they had it in the demo. and that was maybe like 3-4 hours into it, where you get to like the Church of Unitology, and then you're introduced to like the little kid like creature things, not the babies, like the actual like small children that like swarm you and stuff. And one of the things that happened was somehow it got glitched because I don't know, maybe it was because I killed them in a weird way, but it wouldn't actually continue to move the game forward where like the giant creature thing attacks you. Like that never happened. So literally I was stuck in that church and I'm like, okay,
I remember that.
fuck?
I remember that.
So I restart the checkpoint and I'll go back that chapter and it did it again.
I remember that.
Yeah, you were there that night. I'm like, all right, what the fuck? So I literally restart the fucking game from the beginning and then I go through it again. Get back to the fucking church, and it did it again. What the shit? I spent like fucking 8 hours getting to that point, and god damn it. And I was ready to give up on the game entirely, and then I'm like, fuck it, I'm just gonna do it again. And luckily, the third time's the charm. Thank God, I managed to progress and triggered the event, and then I was able to beat the fucking game, and just
That happened to me. Something similar happened to me in Half-Life 2, where I was fighting and Half-Life, since it's on the PC, you're basically always quick saving, like really quickly, just in case. I honestly don't remember what happened, but I quick saved right before I fell. So every single time it reloaded to the part. It was
literally right before you fell.
I had
so you were in an endless loop of your
exactly,
screwed.
and that was terrible. But another time where I was so devastated, so devastated, was I was playing. I think it was Pokemon Black. I had Pokemon Black for the for the Nintendo DS. I was playing, and my friend wanted to just kind of get the hang of it. So I was like, yeah, just start a new game, just don't save it. When you start a new game, it automatically erases the old game.
Ooh.
Completely. And I had, a good 100 Pokemon.
So wait, they didn't have multiple saves, it was just literally that one save?
Yes, it's that one save.
Okay, developers out there who may or may not be listening, probably not. Please, for the love of God, have it so that we can have multiple saves.
Yeah.
Even on consoles, please let us do that. So that way, if we somehow screw up, maybe because it was your fault and you screwed the game up and how you coded it, that we can actually go back to a certain point and then fix it.
Yeah, especially games with autosave that automatically overwrite your most recent one. I love having several different save points. It's just something that I do, and I know that this was a problem with the newest Zelda game, Skyward Sword. If you went and talked to this dragon before you were supposed to, and honestly, to get to this point, you'd have to play the game out of sequence, and it was kind of really hard to do it. But if you did, you could never load that save again. It was just gone.
Oh, God.
Yeah, and that was as soon as the Nintendo Wii. And it's just insane how easy it is to lose hundreds of hours of gameplay just because of like a corrupt file.
It's such a defeating act that when that happens to you, you're like, you literally have to have a moment to yourself where you go, is it really fucking worth it to start all over again and play it? Like,
I never picked up Pokemon Black. I never picked it up again. After that, I haven't.
I don't know why you want to pick up another Pokemon game, because I'm being cynical, but hell, all the Pokemon games are the exact same thing. They just add more fucking Pokemon to it.
I love them.
It's the same game, Josh.
Well, I played Pokemon Red, and then I didn't play anything. Like, I didn't play Sapphire or Ruby or anything up until
I've only played Blue. Fuck
Pokemon Black. And so it's like, now they have Pokemon breeding. They've got like a ton of stuff, and it's definitely, if I were to play every single game when it came out, I would just be done with it. But the fact that I waited so many years to play it, it's kind of, I don't know if it's nostalgia, but I did really enjoy it until it was all gone. But speaking of Pokemon in the older games, I didn't know this until you told me, but all the cartridges, all the old consoles that used to use cartridges and not discs, they all had batteries inside of them. And
they're all ticking time bombs, Josh. They all are.
Basically, yeah. So if that battery runs out, you can never save onto that cartridge. The battery is basically like internal clock, And, they say it's going to be like 5 or 10 years, but if you play a game a lot or whatever, you can actually get to the point where that battery dies and you cannot save that game anymore. And the cartridge with that whole game is basically done. I didn't know that.
It's not even saving. It's usually if that battery dies, you can't even fucking play the game anymore.
I was looking it up, and most of the time it involves the save, but if the battery is dead, it can start glitching out the game.
Ooh.
And there are a lot of tutorials online on how to replace it, and it's basically like a watch battery that you just like pop in there. But it's really it's one of the pluses of moving away from cartridges to optical media like CDs and Blu-rays to play games off of, because they don't have to worry about that.
You just have to worry about now the game actually freezing, which, that's happened to me many
freeze,
times. Hell,
yeah.
even playing God of War Ascension, with my brand new PlayStation 3, that game came bundled with it, and like 3-4 hours into the campaign, the damn thing froze on me. I'm like, oh, okay, I guess this is going to be normal, I guess.
Yeah, sometimes when games freeze, I feel like it's their way of saying, take a break.
No, fuck that.
Screw that.
No.
Forget it.
I don't give a shit that every time I turn on my PlayStation 3, it's like, hey, you should be, take breaks every often. I'm like, no, if I did that, I wouldn't be a real gamer. Fuck you.
Just forget that. This has nothing to do with games, but it's an amusing story that I feel like you'd like. I'm still house sitting. I'm at my boss's house, and I was looking for vinegar, because my girlfriend Lauren is in town and she wanted to dye eggs for Easter. So I was looking through his house for vinegar, and I couldn't find it. But then I see something under his sink that says cloudy ammonia.
The fuck is that?
It's ammonia, but for some reason it's cloudy. Now, I consider myself a fairly intelligent guy.
What's the difference between normal ammonia and cloudy ammonia?
The thing is, that never even crossed my mind. I was thinking, I was like, maybe cloudy ammonia is another name for vinegar. So I go and look up online, and I'm like, what are the ingredients for vinegar? And it's like water and a bunch of other stuff. And I'm like, what are the ingredients for ammonia? And it's like NH2. And it's like telling me chemical compounds for ammonia.
Really?
I was thinking, and I think to myself, oh man, I know exactly what vinegar smells like. I'll just smell the ammonia to see if it smells like vinegar.
Oh no.
I did, and it was terrible. I instantly got a headache. My eyes water. I started coughing a lot. I'm pretty sure my eyes turned blood red, but like when you smell it, it was like smelling. I want to say like it's you. So you're slowly breathing, and then you smell the ammonia, and it's basically like all of your senses cut off, like temporarily. And ammonia is what they use for the smelling salts to wake up unconscious people. I was very conscious, and I was very close to this ammonia bottle that I just smelled, and then it totally hit me. This isn't the first time that I've smelled ammonia.
Wait, whoa. When was the first time?
The first time was in high school, where
oh god,
in chemistry class, our teacher made a litmus paper kind of look like a flower. And so she was pretending, and watch what happens when I water my flower. And she sprayed the ammonia on the flower. And since it was litmus paper, the flower turned pink. And everyone's like, oh, that's really cool. What'd you spray the flower with? Because we knew it wasn't water. And she goes, oh, I sprayed it with ammonia. You'll be able to smell it really soon. And I go, I can't smell it. She's like, just wait a second. And she was sitting really close to me. So I lean in and I take this huge whiff of this flower. And same thing. Eyes instantly turn red. I was coughing for like the next 6 or 7 minutes. I couldn't breathe. Like it was, and everyone thought it was hilarious. But I could not believe, as bad as that moment was, I did it again. Like I just went and smelled that ammonia.
Fooled you once. Shame on you.
Smelled that ammonia.
Fooled you twice. Shame on you again, because you're a fucking idiot.
You fooled me once.
Oh, God.
Shame on you. You fool me, then you can't get fooled again.
I guess moving on to another topic. For all people who don't know, we have a Facebook group called, Random Respawn at facebook.com/Random Respawn. And there I upload every day a video that I find quite interesting. Recently, there have been a couple videos of just new tech, essentially demos, and then tech demos of just, new engines for games coming out. And the 3 that I have posted so far is the Unreal 4 engine, the Fox engine for Metal Gear 5, The Phantom Pain, and then Battlefield 4's, I believe, Frostbite 2. And I have to say, have you watched them yet, Josh?
I haven't watched the Frostbite 2 engine, but I thought Frostbite 2 was used in Battlefield 3. Are you sure it's not Frostbite 3 engine that they're using?
I think maybe it's just 2 and I'm just being stupid. But I mean, it still looks nice. It looks like a Battlefield game, but at the same time, it's, a Battlefield game set in a modern setting with modern weapons and crap, which, at this point, can we do something else? Can we go back to World War II? I kind of miss it, as sad as that sounds.
That was... Call of Duty 2 was amazing.
Oh, God, back in the day. When the Xbox 360 came out and that game was there, good times.
Well, I played that game on the PC. I never played it on a console, and it was phenomenal.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
I think we've hit our time limit. I'd like to leave with a interesting trivia question. It's the age-old question, what weighs more, a pound of feathers or a pound of gold? And the answer is...
Ooh, can I say it?
Yes,
can I say it?
Yes.
It's the same.
You're wrong.
You piece of shit.
It's the pound of feathers, because technically gold is measured by troy weights. And a troy weight is technically 12 ounces for a pound, whereas a normal pound is 16 ounces for a pound. So if anyone were to say, a pound of feathers or a pound of hamsters or a pound of lead or a pound of really anything else...
You're ruining the riddle. Do you know that?
It would
You're ruining
work.
my childhood, essentially.
But gold is technically measured in troy weight. That's how they measure gold. It's not a real pound.
You ruined my life. I hate you. Dynify, you piece of shit.
Right. Like Marshall said, we have a Facebook page, facebook.com/random respawn. We also have a Twitter page, Random Respawn. We have a YouTube page,
Random Respawn. If it's Random Respawn, more than likely we have it, and that's ours.
It's true. And with that, I bid you all adieu, and we'll talk to you guys next week.
Have a good night, guys. Take care.